What's shaking, bacon? In today's video, I'm going to discuss how to access your body fat as fuel. We don't want to access our lean mass. We only want to access our body fat when we're losing weight. So this is pretty simple, right? You want to lose, we'll say 20 pounds. We don't want to lose 10 pounds of muscle and lean mass and 10 pounds of fat. We want to lose 20 pounds of fat when we lose weight, right? The problem is, when it comes to losing weight, people don't care often how they get to that end number as long as they lose their 20 pounds. When you do it the proper way, and you're keeping your muscle and bone density, and you're losing weight, we're only burning fat as fuel. Well, how can you access your fat as fuel? A lot of it comes down to calories, and a lot of it comes down to hormones. So we got two different things we're working with. We can play with one to manipulate the other, usually back and forth. We're amazing creatures, the way we've been designed. You know how camels store water? We store fat, and that's a brilliant thing. It's not a bad thing that our bodies store fat. It's only bad when we start storing excess fat. We can't just make this happen, right? So how it works on the inside is our body has blood sugar. Our blood sugar is sometimes consistently high for some people. When your blood sugar is high and you're not active enough to burn off that blood sugar, what happens is it messes with your insulin. Your insulin comes out and says, okay, wait a minute, our blood sugar is high, so the insulin goes up. Your insulin goes up in your body to bring that blood sugar down. And they sort of do this with each other, right? So your sugar goes high, your insulin goes high. Once your insulin goes high, your blood sugar can start to go down. Because what that's telling your body to do is take that sugar, and since we're not doing anything with it in the body, this isn't good to have high blood sugar, let's store that as fat. So the liver says, okay, we're on it. So it takes that sugar and it turns it into glycogen. Once, that's a fuel source that comes from the liver. Once that is topped up, the body says, okay, we still have all the sugar in the blood. What do we do with it now? The body says, okay, we're gonna store the rest as fat. So here's the problem. We keep doing this, often from a large carbohydrate diet, right? So, and not being active enough. So we have a problem here. Our blood sugar is high and we're not doing anything about it. So our body says, okay, you're not doing anything about it? I got it. Fixes it with the insulin. So the insulin is like a bouncer. It's standing at the doorway of the cell and it's saying to the sugar, can't come in here. Nope, we're not letting you in. So the problem is with that is it keeps floating around in the body. So what's happening now is we know what's blocking your body from accessing our fat stores, and that's insulin. So unless there's other things that are happening with the body, like I have hypothyroidism, so that screws with your metabolism. So we have hormones and calories, and hormones play a big factor in being able to access your fat. And one of the biggest ones typically is insulin for most people. It's usually like an easy first guess for anyone to make and say, okay, get that under control and everything else will start to follow in line. So insulin's a hormone and we wanna be aware of that. So let's talk about one of the fast ways to lower your blood sugar. You can take a medication, and certain medications like metformin lowers your blood sugar. The lower your blood sugar is, the lower your insulin spike's gonna be. The lower your insulin spike's gonna be, it's gonna let you continue to use that fat as fuel, right? So, or those carbohydrates as fuel. So we want to ideally stay away from medications, but that's a quick way to lower your insulin. I was using a product called berberine. I still take it every now and then. And that naturally lowers your blood sugar so that after you have a meal, you can take this actually during the meal, and then your sugar spike, even though I'm on a carbohydrate-free diet, I'm still gonna have sugar spikes after I eat. And it's just a longer spike. Instead of it being a really high spike, it's gonna kind of go up like this. And that berberine helps lower that just that little bit. So instead of going up like this, it's gonna go up like this, right? So because that's not getting as high in my blood, my insulin isn't gonna go up, therefore I can access my fat as fuel. Another way is fasting. So that's where Dr. Fung's book on intermittent fasting comes in. I highly suggest you read it. Now, I don't agree with everything in this book because he is all about fasting and insists nothing else works. Exercise doesn't work, calorie restriction doesn't work. Lots of these things work. It all comes in balance. Lots of these people love to pick a camp where you're either all about hormones to lose weight or you're all about calories to lose weight. Now, it's both. Everyone's a little different, and sometimes it's more of one, sometimes it's more of the other, but both typically have to come into play. When one's doing really good, the other one can do really good. So what we want to do is get our body to continue to burn this fat as fuel. So intermittent fasting will tell us that we can go X amount of hours without eating. First fuel source is the glycogen. And once that's used up, our body starts to want to make more glycogen, but also starts using fat as fuel in the process. Because you're not getting carbohydrates in your diet, your body's allowing itself to use fat. How's it doing that? You go into ketosis. So intermittent fasting is the first, cheapest way to get into ketosis. And ketosis is the act of burning fat as fuel. A third one to lower your blood sugar is exercise. So you eat, go for a walk afterwards. After you have a snack or a meal, do a workout. It doesn't have to be a big workout, it's just enough to lower your blood sugar. So it could be a 5-minute intense workout. It could be jumping jacks, it could be anything. You could be at work, you could do anything. And just try and make it a full body, quick little exercise. It's gonna prevent you from getting tired afterwards, and it's gonna help you to burn through your glycogen. So your body's gonna take the fuel you just ate and have to top up the glycogen, and then the rest of it will get used as energy through the day or potentially get stored as fat. But now there's less that's gonna get stored as fat. So we have medications, we have fasting, and we have exercise. But the other way is through calorie restriction. And that's where some people might just cut back on their carbohydrates. So the big argument lots of people have is you eat too many calories, you're gonna store it all those excess calories as fat. So I'm allowed to have about 4,000 calories a day. Maybe I might, if I was interested in doing this, I might cut that back to 3,500 calories a day. And that 3,500 calories a day is going to go well with a slight caloric deficit, balanced with some intermittent fasting, balanced with a little bit of exercise, balanced with that little bit of metformin or berberine, and now you're hitting it from multiple angles and you're setting yourself up for success to burn fat as fuel. Any one of these things will help. Do all 4 of these things and you got a great winning combination. And it makes it pretty easy because now say one day you didn't have enough time to do some exercise, well, you have it covered from 3 different other angles. What's wrong with playing with all of those things, doing each one of those things a little bit versus any one of those to an extreme? So when you're maybe taking the few times you do eat throughout the day, whether it's once, 3 times, or 6 times through the day, the more frequently you eat, the more you're keeping your blood sugar up, which makes it harder to burn fat. Now, bodybuilders will argue otherwise because bodybuilders eat 6 times, 7 times, 8 times a day, and they know how to burn their fat as fuel when they're leaning out for a competition. That they eat less calorically, but they're still eating frequently to keep their muscle and bone density up. Dr. Fung argues against that, but 70 years of bodybuilding history proves otherwise, because that's how they've been eating for years, that you got to keep your body fueled with protein to look the way these people do, especially when they're trimming down. So he's too extreme with the fasting, thinking it's the end all be all. Why not take a little something to lower your blood sugar spikes when you're eating? Taking a product isn't a bad way to go. You just don't want to have to rely on that. And especially if it's an actual medication that has side effects, right? So try and stay away from that if you can. Berberine is a natural product, but you always want to consult your doctor if you're taking anything like that. So especially if you're on medication already for diabetes. After that, why not go longer windows of time without eating? So instead of having breakfast, lunch, and dinner, try finishing dinner by say 7 o'clock and not eating till noon the next day. When you're fat adapted, and that's the beauty of carnivore, you can go hours without eating and not be hungry. It's a wonderful place to be. You're not always thinking about your next meal. You're never hungry. You're just always when you do get sort of hungry, you're more like on a scale of 4 out of 10, maybe 5 out of 10 at the worst. You're never hitting your window of 6, 7s, or 8s out of 10 where you're thinking, oh, I'm starving, I just gotta eat. That goes away when you're fat adapted. Now let's add a little bit of exercise into that routine. Little eating window now of we'll say 6 hours or 8 hours. That's a pretty easy eating window, right? Don't eat till noon, finish eating by 6 or 8 o'clock at night. Allow you to access your fat as fuel. Now, a little bit of exercise in there. Let's do a little walk after lunch or dinner, right? So Now you've eaten at 12, you have a half-hour break. You can eat in say a 10 or 15-minute window, do 10 minutes of jumping jacks or 5 minutes of jumping jacks. Just enough to get your heart rate up. It probably won't even be enough to get you sweating, but it's gonna be enough to burn through your glycogen, which means the fuel you just ate has to get turned into glycogen to replenish that glycogen. And now your metabolism's a little revved up and you're gonna burn through that fuel really easily. And you're allowing your insulin to not spike up. Between that and the berberine, you've just prevented a huge sugar spike and a huge insulin spike. It's pretty straightforward. We don't want to go so far with the exercise and fasting that we start eating into our lean mass. That's not good. So we want to do it in balance. We want to do all these things in balance. So some people just cut carbohydrates out of their diet to get into that ketosis faster. That's what I'm doing. And it works well. Some people add intermittent fasting with that. That works well for those people. So I enjoyed making this video. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And if you hit that like and subscribe button. It really helps the channel if you subscribe. And if you want, even hit the little bell when that's available so that you can get notifications whenever my videos post. I post my videos by Thursday morning and Sunday morning at 8:30. And I try and keep them short, usually between 10, 12 minutes or so. Ideally, this one might be a little bit longer. So if you liked the video, I thank you for watching this. I appreciate it. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them in the comment section. Try and keep them positive. We'll touch base soon.